Welcome to this video, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the importance of back training, shoulder health and posture improvement. So first exercise you can do to improve your shoulder health is a rotator cuff exercises like you see here. You don't need high or big weights. 1 or 2 or 3 kilo is enough. Try to make a good form, right? I recommend just keep a 90-degree angle between your forearm and your arm, and try not to swing that much. That's why I'm holding his arm right there, because he's trying to swing. So this is exercise for the rotator cuff, which is a stabilizer in your shoulder and which is surrounding the scapula. So it's a forearm muscle which contains in the rotator cuff muscle group. So importance of back training today. Before I jump into it, I would just want to say I'm giving you multiple clips of back exercises. You don't have to do all of them. Choose 1 or 2 or 3 and just include it in your workout, and I will tell you more about it later. So bent over barbell row is the first exercise, which targets the latissimus dorsi. Teres major is naturally involved in lat exercises because it's a helper for latissimus, and rhomboideus is involved in rowing movement. So on this exercise you want to hold shoulder width apart, a little bit wider than the shoulder width, so you can row with elbow close to your body. You don't want to hold like this. If you want to hold like this, it's really hard to keep the elbow close to your body when you row. So remember about that. And next one is that when you row, try to row backwards, not up. Here my training partner is rowing straight up. What's the problem with this one is that he's targeting more of the rear delt and upper back, which is what we want to do with the exercise. There are other exercises for this muscle. You want to row in that direction, little bit backwards, angled, so you will hit more of the lats. And so we want to give muscle enough stimuli. So that's why we have to do what it requires to do a good technique. So if you on the rowing type of movement, you want to row like that, straight, not straight up, but a little bit angled backward. So in this way my shoulder, my scapula is depressed, and I'm able to have my elbow close to my body when I'm rowing. So what more I would say here? Yeah, in the rowing movements there are multiple ways to do it. There are machines, cable, and free weights. Free weights are the toughest because you have to stabilize, and the weights can move in all directions, right? So I don't recommend everyone to jump straight into barbell row. It depends on your fitness level, but I'm just gonna walk through many of the exercises here so you can have an idea, right? So I just want to tell about one more thing to this exercise, is that it requires a good amount of flexibility and mobility in your hamstrings. Why hamstrings in a back exercise, you're thinking? But yeah, the thing is, when you stand in this position, you see my hip, it's always extended in that extended position, and the muscle group which are involved in this is hamstrings, glutes a bit. So you need to be flexible enough to stay in that position, right? Especially with big weights. And it depends on your body weight too, how you look like. If you have a big belly, it will be hard. If you are fat, it will be hard. So it depends overall on the person. But I see many people, fit people in the gym, just don't doing this exercise because they're not flexible enough in their hamstrings. So if you want to do more of the exercise in the gym, you need to be flexible, mobile enough to do that, right? And of course it depends on the fitness level too. So if you have a good flexible hamstring, it's easier to do a bent over row. So another alternative for bent over row is seated row. It's an easier exercise than bent over because you're not required to be in extended position anymore. Your hamstrings are not that involved anymore here because you're seated, right? So when you do a rowing movement, in all type of rowing movement, think about that you have a pen between your scapula and that you're squeezing the scapula for each repetition. And so next exercise I want to talk about is the pull-ups. Quickly here, pull-ups you want to do with this without any momentum. Of course it depends if you're tired or not. If I'm tired, I use a little bit of momentum, doesn't hurt. And try to bring the chest to the bar. Try to if you bring the chest to the bar, you're able to bring the elbow far behind as possible, and in that way you're squeezing more of the latissimus and giving enough stimuli. If you're not fit enough to do pull-up, just do a pull down. Everyone can do this because it's a seated position, right? Works almost the same muscle. The difference between pulling movement and rowing movement is that pulling movement you're working more of the width, and rowing movement more of the thickness. So this is a rowing movement similar to other rowing movement, and works almost all rowing movement works the same muscle basically. So you're working more of the thickness of the back. Rhomboideus are involved, as I previously said, teres major of course. So the difference between this exercise which I'm showing you here and previously is that, previously row exercise, is that you're working one arm at a time, unilaterally. What's good about this one is that you won't overdevelop one side. Makes sense, right? Because if you're strong enough, for me, in my situation is that I'm stronger on the right side than the left side because I'm right-handed. So I'm naturally intend to pull more weight on the right side. So that's why I don't do always exercise which requires both arms. I'm doing exercise like seated row, one arm at a time, and dumbbell rows, which works one side at a time, right? So keep that in mind too. If you do too much of bilateral movement, meaning movement which requires both hands or both arms, hands and legs, obviously. So you won't develop one side bigger than the other one, and you want to have a balanced physique, both sides equally developed. So you have to also do unilateral movements, which requires one side at the time, one leg and the other leg. Let's say left hand and the right hand for each set, right? So next exercise I want to talk about is this one. Cable row with 45-degree angle. Well, what's the difference between this one and the normal row is that since you are doing it in an angle, you won't work that much of the thickness of the back, but you will work more of the width, right? The wideness of the lats. It hits more of the outer lats, and for most people I don't recommend you to do it. It's not necessary. I'm just doing it very rarely to keep things interesting, because that's important, because you have to enjoy the journey, enjoy the training sessions, do not get bored doing the same things over and over again. And the next exercise I want to talk about is the pullovers. I'm using 2 ropes here because I'm able to bring my elbow more behind in compared to if I would use only 1 rope. Because I'm using 2 ropes, I'm able to bring my elbow and arm more behind. In that way I will hit more of the latissimus, and that's our intention with exercise, to hit the muscle. So you have to do what it requires to hit those muscles. And I'm using 2 ropes. Usually it's hard to find 2 ropes free in the gym. So you can, if you don't have 2 ropes available, you can use this one right here. This is better than using 1 rope, because you are able to also bring your elbow behind. And what you have to keep in mind is that don't try to move your back that much. Try to only move your arms, because you don't want to cheat. This is isolating exercise, which you don't have to go that heavy, and try to get in more reps. Okay, so next topic, an important one, is the rear delt. So cable fly with dumbbells, trains posterior delts, upper trapezius, also called trapezius descendens. Most people have overdeveloped front delts because of all the pushing, chest exercise, shoulder exercise, but they don't have good developed rear delt, which is important for a balanced physique, but most importantly, a good shoulder health, right? And you can train this muscle in multiple ways, with dumbbells, with barbell, with cable, and I will show you guys some ideas. Okay, so when you do this exercise, you don't have to go heavy because it's a small muscle, you don't need a big weight, and try to get more reps, 10, 12, 15 minimum, and you can do even up to 25 reps. And try not to here the important thing here is that it's different from back exercises because you're training rear delt, so you don't have to squeeze your scapula for each reps, right? You will just involve more of the back. You don't have to squeeze your scapula here, and the range of motion is somewhat shorter than the back exercises, so keep that in mind too. And the next clips I'm going to show you is some of the exercises you can do to improve the shoulder health and posture, because more and more people these days have home offices, sitting in front of the computer, desk, and if you think about it, your elbows are in front of the shoulder and in front of the body many hours during the day, and if you keep your elbow in this position many hours during the day for multiple days, you will develop issues with your shoulder, and these exercises are here to help you to not develop those issues, and you overall want to have a healthy shoulder to not have problems. Training with weights is not something you should be afraid of. Training with weights is really ideal. You won't get injured. Bigger muscle are stronger muscles too. So face pull is a seated one. You can do this standing or even laying on the floor. What you have to keep in mind is that the angle between the rope and the movement and your body, right? It has to be somewhat 90 degrees to be able to hit the upper back and rear delt more. And you can bring, if I could tell you in the easy way, just bring the rope close to your ear and forehead, so it will be somewhat 90 degrees. So this is a great exercise you can do. You can do it with the band, and try to go more reps and not heavy weight. Same applies here, not heavy and more reps. So this is a row type of movement for upper back and rear delt. And what's the difference between this one and the rowing for the back is that my hand position and the elbow position is wide apart, and where I'm rowing to the upper chest, and in this way, because of the flared elbows, I'm able to hit the rear delt and upper back more than the normal bent over row, right? And here are some extra clips. Biceps is not so important for posture, but since it's a pull day, I just put it here so I can tell you about it too. So when it comes to training, it's all about having enough volume and be frequent enough to grow, because you can compare training and going to solarium or sunbathing, because if you go to solarium and sunbathing and get tan, if you do it too little, you won't get tanned, and if you do it too much, you will get sunburned. And the same applies for training. When you're training, if you give too little stimulus, your muscle won't grow and it won't respond. And if you give too much stimulus, you will get burnt out and you will take too long to recover, and it's just overtraining and it's not ideal. So to make it easy for you guys, I just gave you that example. So why I'm doing this exercise like this is that I'm able to pull the weight straight against resistance. If I'm doing this exercise the other way, I'm pulling the weight straight up, and the way this cable is made is to pull the weight straight, not straight up, but straight in angle, like what I'm doing now. Gives the biceps maximal amount of stimulus, and it hits the bicep really well. So yeah, a summary from today, this video, is that make sure you train your rear delt minimum once a week. Try it one or twice a week to keep your shoulder health in check and not to get injured. Because if you sit many hours during the day in that not ideal position, it can in the long run hurt your shoulders. And try to buy a band and try to do similar exercises, or if you have a cable, okay, and take a break, which is also more important. So yeah, so don't forget to check out the links below where I have posted some information about the online coaching. So basically you get an application where you have all information about diet and training. All instructions are given and it's easy to follow, and the user interface is made really simple. So yes, thank you for watching everyone, and I will see you on the next video. Make sure to comment below what you want to see so I can have an idea of what I can make for next video. Thanks and goodbye.